This is Algebra 2 with Trig, Semester 1 review packet. We're going to start out with Chapter 1. Here we're solving an inequality because it has the greater than or less than sign. We're going to collect our like terms. Add the x to the other side. So we have 8x is less than or equal to 16. Divide by the 8. So x is less than or equal to 2. What's the equation of a vertical line that passes through the point? I would suggest to make a sketch 5/3 down. So it wants a vertical line. Vertical lines mean that they go up and down. So every spot along this dotted line has an x value that's equal to 5. What's the equation of a horizontal line that passes through 0, 9? Horizontal line, go this way. Each one of those spots has a y value that's equal to 9. Your new workout routine includes running and 20 minutes of weight training each day. The time spent running increases following the pattern in the table. Approximately how many minutes should you set aside for running on the 30th day? Well, if we look at this, we notice that we're going up by 5 and going up by 5 and going up by 5. In here, this is 4 days later, 4 days later, 4 days later. So our slope is going to be representative of, if this is your y values and this is your x values, rise over run. You're changing by 5 and you're changing by 4 each time. So the rise over run is 5/4, the y over x. So that's our slope. So now we're going to take our point slope formula and plug in our values. So we can use any point that we wish. We could use this 2 and 5 if we want. The x value is 2. Well, when you use the point slope formula, you use the x and the y, and then for the y1 you plug in your y value, for the x1 you plug in your x value. (10/4). Okay, then we would collect like terms, it looks like. Let's multiply everything by 4, just get rid of these denominators. So we'd have 4y minus 20 equals 5x minus 10. By multiplying everything by 4, then we would cross out our denominators. So here, remember we want to get the y by itself. So we're going to add the 20 to the other side to get 4y that equals 5x plus 10. Then we're going to divide by the 4. So now we're going to have y equals 5/4 x plus 10/4. 10/4 is the same thing as 5/2. So anyway, this is one way we could do it. I wrote an equation that represents what this data is, and then we can plug in what we need to do. What are we going to do on the 30th day when x is 30? So you can just plug in a 30 for the x now. So that gives us 150 divided by 4. So that's reducible to be 75/2, which is 80/2, which is 40. So 40, which is D. Another way you could have done it, maybe a little bit easier, is just to keep going up by 4. Go to 18, and then 22, and then 26, and then 30. And then you would have noticed you would have gone 25 and 30 and 35 and 40. You could have counted. This is writing an equation. Here's an absolute value. When you do the absolute value, remember what's inside the absolute value could have been positive or it could have been negative. So we want to look at when x plus 3 is going to be less than or equal to 11, or 4x plus 3 is negative 11. So we have to switch our sign because we put in our negative. Subtract the 3 across, we get 8. Divide by the 4, we get 2. Subtract the 3 across, we get negative 14. Divide by the 4, so our statement, this says that the absolute value is less than. Less than. It says and, which means it's a compound inequality. So x is greater than or equal to negative 14/4, and it's less than 2. Here we have an absolute value. We'll do the same thing. 6x minus 9 is greater than or equal to 33. Then we're going to do 6x minus 9, switch the sign, and put in a negative 33. Because what's inside the absolute value could have been positive or it could have been negative. Add the 9 to the other side. And x is going to become 7. It's going to become greater than 7. Add 9 to the other side, and we're going to get 24. Negative 24. Divide by positive 6, and we'll get negative 4. So x has to be less than negative 4, or it has to be greater than 7. If you look at this symbol, this inequality says greater than. It says greater than. It's an or statement. So if it's an or statement, you know that you're going to say x is less than or equal to 4, or x is greater than or equal to 7. It's not an and statement. If you look at the number line for something like this, if we're going to be greater than 7, greater than or equal to 7, we're going to be less than or equal to negative 4. They go in opposite directions. That's an or type equation. Up here, when we were dealing with problem number 5, this goes into there just over 3 times, so negative 14/4 would be around here. It would be greater than that. It would be less than that. So when you have a segment, it's called an and statement. Number 7, which compound inequality is graphed? Notice how it's a segment. So we know that it's an and. So I know that it's not the ors. So I know it would be one of these two. This is x values greater than negative 4. It doesn't include negative 4. But it's less than or equal to 0. So it looks like it's following that. 0 is greater than that, and x is greater than or equal to, but look at the symbols. The symbols aren't right. So it's C is your best answer. This is chapter 2. What is the equation of the line that passes through this point and is parallel to that one? So we know our slope, if it's parallel, is going to be the same thing. So we can use our point slope formula again. Our y value is 3. Our slope is negative 6. Our x value is 1.5. That's our x value. Sorry, I did it again. Distribute. A negative and a negative makes a positive. When you multiply 6 by 1.5, you should get 9. We'll add 3 to the other side. And there's our equation. Y equals negative 6x plus 12. Your swim team wants to raise $75 at a car wash. You charge $4 for a wash and $7 for a wash and a wax. What equation would model this situation? Here, if you want $75, you know that it's going to equal $75. So of course this one's out. This one's out. I don't even know what's going on with this one. So we're looking at these two equations. Are we going to take the amount for our washes, take the amount of our waxes, and subtract them? No, of course not. We're going to take $4 for every wash, or $7 for every Y. We're going to add those together to get 75. We're going to write an equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. So what we first need to start out with, it doesn't matter if you say y2 minus y1 or if you say y1 minus y2, you just need to be consistent throughout the problem. That would be x1, y1, x2, y2, so this becomes 5 plus 5. This becomes negative 2 plus 4. So you get 10 over 2, which equals 5. So that's going to be our slope. And then we can use our point slope formula. Our point that we can use is 5. Our slope is 5. And our x value is -2. So we distribute, and we add the 5 across, and we would get y equals 5x plus 15. What are the x and y intercepts of the line of the equation for this? Well, if we have our equation 5x plus half y equals 3, to find out your x intercepts, we can set y equal to 0. So we're going to have 5x plus half times 0 equals 3. So we're going to get 3/5 x, or our different values here. The x value is 3/5, and our y value is 0. That's one of our intercepts. The y-intercept is when x equals 0. So we have half y equals 3. We multiply by 2 to get y to equal 6. So when x is 0, y is 6. We're going to solve this inequality. This is called a compound inequality. Notice how it actually has two problems. I like to write it with -4 is less than 6x minus 10, or you have 6x minus 10 is less than or equal to 14. Break it into the two problems. We add the 10 to the other side. We get 6x. When we add the 10 to the -4, we're going to get the 6. Divide by 6, and we get 1. Add 10 to the 14 to get 24. Divide by 6 to get 4. So we know that we have to be greater than 1, or we have to be less than 4. Watch your inequalities that they match what they were from the original problem. Which statement is true about the graph of this absolute value? Well, I know this absolute value is a V shape. The H value is 2. The K value is 4. So I'm going to go 2 to the right and 4 up. And then I'm going to do my V shape. And those are both having a slope of 1 and -1. So I know my vertex is at 2, 4. My domain for that, I can type in all real numbers. My range for that is all the values greater than my K value, greater than 4. My end behavior, the function, when it goes towards positive infinity, the x value could be going to negative infinity. So when we're looking at the x values that are going small, the function is going big. When the x values are going big, the function is still going big. It's going in the same direction. What is the range of the relation given by these ordered pairs? Remember range. Range are your y values. So your y values are these points. These are just points. They're not a connected line. So we're just looking for these specific numbers. Notice here that it repeated itself. So we're not going to repeat it. So we're going to use the number -5. We'll use the number 1, 3, 2. This is the one that has them all in it. Number 8. Line 1 passes through these 2 points. Line 2 passes through those 2 points. We have to figure out what would be true. So let's look at their slopes. Line 1 is going to be 5 minus 4, -2 minus 1. So that's that slope. Line 2 is going to be 3 minus 0, or 0 minus 1. So they are reciprocals of each other, but they're not perpendicular because they're not opposite reciprocals. I'm checking my numbers just to be sure I have my signs right. Okay, so let's be sure I said 3 minus 0 and 0, minus a -1, which makes that positive. That is 3. Okay, check your work just to be sure that things are making sense. I knew it wasn't parallel. So because they're opposite reciprocals, they are going to be perpendicular to each other. Watch your signs. Remember your equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.